Being cloud native, we built in security from the ground up. So what is IDaaS? It's identity management, authentication, and authorization for internet users, applications, and devices. All account private data is encrypted in the browser prior to being sent across the public internet. Verviam automatically generates a REST service with a signed JWT token, validated at the Verviam gateway, and then exchanged for actual enterprise application credentials. Typically, secret ID and password, a complete connection string, or a signed JWT token. Each account is issued with secret keys, protected by a key vault. Verviam can protect any connection in a hybrid multi-cloud enterprise scenario. In combination with the software-defined perimeter capability at the network layer, Verviam offers a truly zero-trust architecture, including measures for anti-DDoS, public IP content delivery network security, virtual network VPC perimeter security, network security groups, web application firewalling, and endpoint protection. I'm going to hand over to Eitan of Safety to tell you a little bit more about software-defined perimeter.
Okay, thanks, Naya. So before we continue to explain about Safety Solution, let me talk about who we are. So Safety, we're a cybersecurity company out of Israel, focusing on access and zero trust access or zero trust network access. We've been around since 2013, so a pretty established company. And again, only on access, covered by all the leading analysts. You can see us on Gartner, Forrester, all the different analysts covering zero trust. We're a global company, headquartered here in Israel, in 2 locations. We have offices in the US, UK, Germany, Spain, Asia Pac, and working closely with the identity and access and technology community, like Naya and her team, to create joint partnerships with our access technology. So we talked about the previous slides about how Safety's solution fits into the entire Verviam architecture. Now let's see about it from the Safety side. What you can see here is the architecture of Safety's software-defined perimeter solution, basically comprising of 2 main components. Our access controller, which sits on premises. This component is the brain of the solution. It connects to all the back-end applications an organization might want to provide access to. Could be file storages, remote desktop servers, SSHs, SFTPs, business applications, cloud applications like GitHub, for example, and it also connects to the organization's identity tier. Could be, for example, on-premises Active Directory or the Verviam IDaaS cloud, as we're talking in this integration. The access controller also communicates outbound over a patent we have. So these yellow arrows are all outbound connections. In this case, to the Safety Cloud, where we host the authentication and access gateways. We have 2 gateways, one for authentication, one for access, in order to separate the authentication flow from the access flow. The idea being, if a user wants to access a backend service, they have to go through authentication first. Without authenticating, we would never open access for the user to go into the network. This is as opposed, for example, for a VPN scenario where I launch my VPN client, connect to the VPN gateway, do an access, and then authentication. Here, we reverse this. You first authenticate, and only then are you granted access. Our solution is fully clientless. All the user needs in order to authenticate is a web browser. They open the browser, they point, in this scenario, to the Safety Cloud, to the authentication gateway. They go through the authentication workflow, which is fully controlled by the access controller. So anything the user sees on the web portal is pushed out by the access controller. Any credentials the user enters, for example, username and password, are pulled in by the access controller and sent to the relevant identity tier, in our case, to the Verviam IDaaS cloud. Once a user finishes authentication and we recognize the group to which the user belongs, for example, DevOps or marketing, that defines the applications the user can access. At that point, we open the access component in the safety cloud. Now the user can launch their relevant client application, could be their RDP client, their SSH client, point it to the safety cloud and start working. Access controller goes out, retrieves the relevant packets, if it's an RDP traffic, so it's the RDP packets, pulls them in and sends them to the RDP gateway. So the firewall here, the organization firewall, for example, the LAN DMZ firewall is configured from the inside out, from the access controller to the cloud. There's no incoming ports, so the attack surface is completely limited. The user is never on the network. We're doing only application level access. All the user sees in this scenario is the safety cloud in terms of networking, yet they can access any backend application they want. Any TCP application, SFTPs, SSHs, again, file storages, etc. A second scenario for organizations who don't want to install anything in their premises, in this case, we run everything in the safety cloud, including the access controller. And then there's no backhauling. Okay, all the traffic from the users hits the safety cloud, where the access controller in this case goes to the Verviam cloud directly from the safety cloud. And if I need to get to the backend application, traffic is routed from the safety cloud into the customer premise. So you can work with the access controller either on premises and then it's outbound to the safety cloud, or within the safety cloud and then it's inbound from the safety cloud into the customer organization. But the end result is identical. It's completely clientless for the users. All they need is a browser for authentication and the relevant client applications in order to access. They're never on the network, right? They're only seeing the safety cloud, and the safety cloud cannot see into the organization because it's all outbound-based connections. So thank you, and back to you, Naya.
Thanks, Eitan. Zero Trust access is definitely the way to go. Security is applied at the network layer. With Verviam, private data stays private. Only the account holder ever sees private data in clear text. Verviam issues secret keys for each account, and the public-private key pair can be rotated on demand. REST services are configurable in the console. Services are completely protected by native cloud infrastructure security. Most security services close the stable door after the horse is bolted. A combination of field-level encryption and software-defined perimeter is as secure as you can get. Verviam IDaaS is, of course, compliant with all the major regulatory frameworks, such as PCI DSS, GDPR, HIPAA, to name a few. And with the addition of safety, software-defined perimeter at the network layer, this is real Zero Trust 2020 data protection for enterprise internet security.